Okay, so here we have some video solutions to quiz 4, and I know my document camera is terrible, so you should print off quiz 4, and then you can follow along and be able to read what's happening here. Okay, so the first question was, what's the definition of f prime? That's a common thing that we should know. It comes up over and over and over again, so if you're still not sure about it, you might go ahead and put it on your card of notes. So f of x plus h minus x, f of x divided by h, and don't forget the limit. Good. So this is the instantaneous rate of change is the limit of the average rate of change as h goes to 0. Okay. Now the next one. This one is really giving it some derivative rules. So let's just go through these and then we'll get the numerical values. So if h is f composed with g, find h prime. So that's going to be a chain rule, right? So that's going to be f prime of g of 1 times g prime of 1. And so if we go to the table here, g prime of 1 is 5. And then g of 1, 1 is negative 1. So this is going to be f prime of negative 1, f prime of negative 1 times 5. So then f prime of negative 1 is positive 1, so that's 1 times 5. Good. Similarly, if h is f over g, find h prime of 0. That's going to be f of 0 times g prime, f prime of 0 times g of 0 minus f of 0, g prime of 0 divided by g of 0 squared. So again, now we're just going to plug in numbers. We're focusing on this column now for everything. F prime of 0 is 3. G of 0 is 2. Minus f of 0 is 7. G prime of 0 is 1. Divided by g of 0 squared, which is 2 squared. Okay. Similarly, here is the product rule. So we just have f prime of 2, we're evaluating at 2, times g of 2, plus f of 2 times g prime of 2. And now we just go read those off the list again at 2. Oh, now we're at 2 instead of at 0. So f prime of 2 is 3, g of 2 is 1, plus f of 2 is 5, times g prime of 2 is 2. Good. And now, by the way, we would go ahead and simplify those if we were on the quiz here. I'm just showing you how to get the solutions. So here h prime of 1 is going to be f prime of f of 1 times f prime of 1, so that's a chain rule. And so if you look up f of 1 is 2, so this is going to be f prime of 2 times f prime of 1. Okay, so then f prime of 2 is 3. F prime of 1 is 4. So that's going to be 12. Good. And now we just really differentiate over and over and over again. Whoops. So I think, for the sake of time, we'll just go ahead and, well, I think we can get through these. Derivative of tangent is secant squared. So that's secant squared of x. 15x to the 4th, that's pretty straightforward. This is x to the 1/2 power, so that's going to be minus 1/2 x to the minus 1/2 power when I subtract 1. And then this is 2 times x to the minus 4, so when I differentiate that, it's going to be minus 8x to the minus 5. Good. 3 to the t natural log of 3. Minus pi e to the t is minus pi e to the t. Plus e to the t is just, oh, that's e to the 4 plus 0. E to the 4 is a constant, right? And here pi was a constant, that's why we did not use a product rule there. Good. Sine of e to the theta, g prime of theta is going to be cosine of theta, e to the theta, that's the derivative of the outside function, times the derivative of the inside function, which is e to the theta, plus e to the sine of theta. Derivative is e to the sine of theta. That's the outside function. And then you multiply by the derivative of the inside function. Good. Sine of t squared cosine of t cubed. This is a product rule. So z prime is going to be cosine of t squared times 2t. That's the derivative of the first function times the second function, cosine of t cubed, plus the first function, sine of t squared, times the derivative of cosine of t cubed, which is minus the sine of t cubed times 3t squared. Good. Now this one is a little bit of a mess, y sine y over y squared cosine y plus 1. I'll let you work through that one. This one you could actually do two ways. Part F. Part F you could actually rewrite that if you wanted to and use x to the 1/2 times x to the 3rd plus 9. So if you do that, that's 3 plus a half, so that's 7/2. X to the 7/2 plus 9 x to the 1/2 power. So this is before I even differentiate, right? So the derivative would be 7/2 x to the 5/2 power plus 9/2 x to the minus 1/2 power. Or you could use a product rule if you really wanted to. And the last one here, z to the 4th is 4z cubed. 4 to the z is 4 to the z natural log of 4. 4 cosine z is minus 4 sine z. Sine of pi over 2 is a constant, so that's plus 0. Good. Cosine of 3t over e to the 2t plus 1. That's pretty straightforward again. So h prime of t. Derivative of the top, which would be minus the sine of 3t times 3 times the bottom, e to the 2t plus 1, minus the top, cosine of 3t, times the derivative of the bottom. That would be e to the 2t times 2, and then divided by the bottom function squared. Good. G prime is going to be minus the sine of whatever's inside the parentheses, and that is 2 to the x squared. And then you multiply by 2 to the x squared natural log of 2. And then you multiply by the derivative of x squared, which is 2x. Derivative of secant is secant tangent, but remember it's secant square root of 3x plus 2, tangent of 3x square root of 3x plus 2. So that's what we mean by secant tangent, right? And then you multiply by the derivative of the inside function, which is 1/2 3x plus 2 to the minus 1/2. Then you multiply by the derivative of that, which is 3. Good. Find the equation of the tangent line to this function at x equals 0. Well, if x is equal to 0, what's the y value? E to the 0 is 1, square root of 4 is 2, so that's going to be 0, 2. Y prime is going to be 1/2 e to the x plus 3 to the minus 1/2, right? And then you multiply by the derivative of the inside, which is e to the x. So when you put in x equals 0, right, you're just going to get 1/2 times 1 over the square root of 4, which is 1/2. So that's going to be a slope of 1/4. Now I have a point and a slope, and so we could write the equation of the line like that if you'd like to. Good. All right, just about done. Here we have x cubed times e to the x. So this is just a straight product rule for the first derivative. I'll go ahead and write that up here. That's going to be 3x squared times e to the x plus x cubed e to the x. Now when I take the second derivative, I'm going to have two product rules, right? So I'm going to take, let's see, derivative of 3x squared would be 6x times e to the x plus 3x squared e to the x. And so that finishes off the first term. Oops, I don't want to scratch that out because I do want my f prime there. But now when I take the derivative of x cubed again, I get 3x squared e to the x, and then my last term will be x cubed e to the x. So you have four terms here, right? Two of these, they're paired up as product rules from where you ended up. Good. And so here we have something similar, f prime of x. You have a one product rule, so that's going to be e to the x sine of x plus e to the x cosine of x. And now when you take the second derivative, you're going to have two pairs, right? E to the x sine of x plus e to the x cosine of x. So that takes care of the first term. And then you have plus, now we're going to differentiate this one, e to the x cosine of x. That's the derivative of the first one. And then derivative of cosine is minus the sine, so minus e to the x sine of x. And you might notice that the sine of x's cancel out there, but you didn't need to write that. Good. Finally, h prime of x will be 2 times f of x times f prime of x. So that's coming from the chain rule there, plus another chain rule, e to the f of x times f prime of x, plus, and then we have a product rule, 2x f of x, I'm running out of space, x squared plus times f prime of x. There we go. Good. That's quiz 4. Quiz 4 in 10 minutes, or 11 minutes. Very good. I don't know why that's light's going out. Okay, we'll stop there